BMF.
Nate Shaw here with the Brooklyn Music Factory, back for another one of our 7 core values that we try to live and teach by right here at BMF. Today we're going to talk about a tough one. This, without a doubt, is the most challenging pill for most of us to swallow, and that is the value that we check our ego at the door. I play the ukulele for you today because I don't actually really play the ukulele, but I ain't afraid to give it a shot. Check your ego at the door. Let's talk about that from 3 different perspectives. Let's start with the musician's perspective. What does it mean to check our ego at the door? Why is that so important to us? Here's the bottom line with being a musician. For those of us that make music regularly, we know this to be true. And that is that the most joy we find in music comes from doing it with others. Music is a social art form. It's about communing with others and connecting with others. That blissful state that you see musicians in when they're up on the bandstand comes from getting beyond themselves and connecting with other musicians. So here's the tough part. When you get on that bandstand, or you get into that band class, or you get into your rehearsal, the first most important thing you gotta do is check your ego at the door. And what we mean by that is, when you walk into a space with other humans ready to make music, it's got to be about them. It cannot be about you. So as musicians, we often say we try to play beyond our instrument. What I mean by that is that while I'm playing, I need to be able to use those ears and use those eyes and be listening and connecting beyond my instrument. I actually, when I'm in my highest state of playing, I am not even hearing myself play. I do not hear a note that I make because I'm focused entirely on others. When I reach that state, I have truly left my ego behind. It's not about what I can do, it's about what's going on around me. And why that's so vital is because that's how musicians actually get the most pleasure out of what they do. Okay, so check your ego at the door. As a musician, it's vital. You gotta have faith on this one. You gotta believe me that as musicians, that's where we're all heading. We're heading to a space where we're not actually listening to ourselves anymore. We're focused entirely on what's happening around us, because that's what levels us up in that spiritual, blissful space that we're hoping to get, and we're hoping that music can take us. Now, as a teacher, what does it mean to check your ego at the door? This is a tough one, because you'll oftentimes hear us say that there are all kinds of different learners. Every single one of our students at the Brooklyn Music Factory is going to have a unique journey. Their path to finding their musical space is going to be unique to the next person's. So as a teacher, this is really difficult because we have created all these amazing tools like big music games and our lesson architecture and all of the different gigs we do and all these things we've put together to try to help our students. But the reality is that we as teachers cannot dictate for your child or those students exactly the path that they're going to take to find themselves as musicians. We have to be ready to check our version of what we think is exactly the right steps and say, I want to listen and observe my student so that I can see what the next best step is based on their experience, based on their path. So checking your ego at the door as a teacher is vital too. Finally, and this is the hardest part being a parent, we have to check our ego at the door as parents. And I'm going to just put it plain and simple to you all, because this one's tough, and I'm forewarning you, you're not going to like this. But when you go to a concert or a gig to see your child play, it is actually not about your child. For you as a parent to understand how your child is growing as a musician, it actually has to be about the entire community. It can't be about whether or not your kid has learned how to play a new chord on the ukulele, or whether or not they're singing in tune perfectly, or whether or not their groove on the drums has all of a sudden leveled up and they're playing really complicated beats. Because for us as parents, we will find the most joy and we will be able to ride on that wave of bliss with those musicians if we can check our ego at the door, which says, I want my child to be really amazing up there, and instead get on that magic carpet ride of community and just realize that this is all about the entire ensemble on the bandstand. This is about the parents sitting next to me, to the left and the right at the gig. This is about everyone in the community. When you can get on that plane and start riding that wave, you are going to find that you find way more joy in music and way more joy in watching your kids, and maybe even yourself as a student, follow their unique path to success as musicians, whatever that means for them. Dig it. Check your ego at the door. It's one of the 7 core values that we try to live and teach by here at the Brooklyn Music Factory. Not saying it's easy to check your ego at the door, because it isn't. We all know how difficult it is, but it's definitely worth striving for.